So it's been a few days since Eddie Van Halen passed just this last Tuesday, and I wanted to make a video in his honor. However, with the impact that has been felt by the rock community, I kind of wanted to leave the obituaries and the eulogies to the professionals and to his family. But while I was looking stuff up about him, like kind of everybody is doing right now, I found this really interesting story. And I would like to share that story because I don't think most articles are going to touch on this. So without further ado, my name is Mike with Ruling Note Music, and this is a story about how Van Halen used M&Ms as a safety precaution. So when Van Halen first came out on the global scene in 1978 with their debut record, they were a bunch of crazy-ass dudes from Pasadena, California that not only had this crushing, huge rock sound, but they also became known for how nuts they were on stage. They were flipping around, swinging all over the place, and playing like mad the entire time. As a matter of fact, stage injuries for Van Halen was kind of commonplace, especially early on. This even happened late into their career as well. I remember seeing this article on Van Halen like a few years after David Lee Roth had rejoined the band, and they were filming a musical performance on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And the article said that they actually had to stop their live performance because David Lee Roth was swinging a mic stand around kind of like a bow staff because he has a martial arts background, and he swung it around and cut himself in the nose. Dave just put a bandage on his face and the band still went out and played and they kicked ass. By the way, that was like in 2015, so these guys were like 60. One of the results of the early career injuries that Eddie himself endured was vascular necrosis of the hip. Now for those who don't know, vascular necrosis happens when blood stops flowing to a particular area of the body and the tissue in that area starts to die, which interestingly enough can happen to bone as well as soft tissue. The pain that Eddie ended up enduring from this condition ended up becoming so unbearable that he ended up having to have his hip replaced in 1999. Now, to accommodate their stage antics, even with the injuries they may have sustained while they were playing, it was imperative that their live environment was as secure as possible. Because of this, Van Halen soon became known for having one of the most extensive technical writers of the time. Their requests went far beyond that of your average touring act. These requests came down to things like stage and system integrity, voltage requirements, staff safety requirements, etc. This is because early on in their career, they had a mound of safety issues. Things like damaged equipment or risk of multiple crew members being electrocuted due to inadequate safety precautions or those precautions being ignored right out. Now, because the list was so long, these guys had to find a way to ensure that the tech writer was being read and followed in full detail. So, hidden on one of the pages in the tech writer was a very specific requirement. A bowl of M&Ms was to be placed in their dressing room. Hidden on another page of the same writer, they had a requirement to remove the brown M&Ms from the bowl and throw them out. This means that when the band showed up in the dressing room and the bowl of M&Ms wasn't there, or the brown M&Ms were still sitting in the bowl, the band could safely assume that the tech writer wasn't being read properly. They could legally request for all the work to be inspected or redone before they even went on stage. And this rumor was referenced to and made fun of like everywhere. There were multiple articles that were printed, poking fun at outlandish tour writer requests. There's even an in-joke reference to this requirement in the movie Wayne's World 2. I remember back in the day on the young internet, there were entire websites and blog sites that were specifically dedicated to pointing out these tour writers, throwing them up and just sitting and making fun of them or ridiculing them. But if you really think about it, doing this makes a lot of sense. You really got to give it up to Van Halen for risking catching crap in the name of band and crew safety. It was a brilliant move, and it allowed them to keep making music and keep touring and become legends in the rock and metal genres. Speaking of which, I have a confession to make. Van Halen was one of the first bands I really got into when I was a kid. Eddie's playing was one of the major catalysts to get me into playing guitar in the first place. As a matter of fact, one of the first songs my dad taught me was the riff to Ice Cream Man. And although I would consider myself a decent rock and metal rhythm guitar player, I'm really not that great a lead player. The guitar solo Eruption has always been kind of untouchable to me because I've really never had the full patience to sit and learn it. But today, right now, I'm going to make myself a promise. In Eddie's honor, I'm going to learn how to play Eruption from front to back. And I know it doesn't sound like that big of a deal because I know there are a lot of people that know how to play it nowadays, but I'm going to film and document myself learning how to play it in the process. So this leaves me with a question for you. Would you like me to post multiple updates to show how far I'm progressing as I go? Or would you like me to compile all of the progress into a single video and show the whole thing at once? Let me know in the comments below. thanks so much for watching. If you dig the video, please hit the like button below and subscribe if you haven't already. I do documentaries, how-tos for production, and music videos on the channel. Until next time, this is Mike from Ruling Note Music, reminding you to never compromise your sound.